my God. Welcome back, everybody. I've been reading our notes. It's funny. Like you've got it in your mind as the direction that you think something's going to go in. And this has not gone in the direction at all that I expected it to go in. Especially when Alexander ended up befriending the monk and they ripped off the betting house and then acquired all that wealth. You guys essentially worked for Xanathar enough to hand him over Skullport, something he's been working towards for a very long time. But I don't really feel like you guys are necessarily the bad guys. You know what I mean? It's like you're the lovable good guys that are getting duped into handing everything over to the bad guys. Except for Tyr. Tyr might be a bad guy. the bard rocker, as they say. So where we last left off, the team had some successes. Not only did they survive the House of Pain, but they took down Flavia, the one in charge, the halfling in charge, although they thought it was a Goliath, but it turned out to be a halfling. Brought down the House of Pain, eroded the last of the power base within Skullport by doing this, and completed their mission and handed over the pseudo leadership of Skullport to Xanathar's organization, which strangely enough has brought some stability and a reasonable amount of diminished chaos. But we said goodbye to Rahi, who felt that she had done everything she needed to do, discovered the amulet that would allow her to begin to explore the regenerative effects of maybe recovering herself. And we met Shogo, seemingly the original doctor to Rahi. And this particular doctor has an extreme fascination with animating the, well, I guess you can't animate an undead. The animating of those that are maybe dead and then come back to life, as well as a kind of explicit kind of study of what causes these things to happen, and fit quite nicely into this rather bizarre group. But the team had some time. They returned to Waterdeep, acquired new equipment, resolved past issues, got things organized and prepared, eventually meeting back down in Skullport and meeting at the tavern to discuss next steps. I believe there was a brief burial where we last left off. Somebody got buried. I just don't remember who it was.
We were bodies from our last fight.
Yeah, the slightly rotting bodies that were pulled from the different, I guess, was brought from the portable hole.
Oh yeah.
Shogo, kind of feeling that it was important to get that resolved. But currently, we are on the outskirts of Skullport, near the beginnings of the warrens and pathways that will lead us back into the mysterious caverns, with the understanding that the entrance to the Arcane cavern is the next best hope of finding a way down into the below areas of the Undermountain. I believe we are on day... Make sure here. We are on day 14. Since the discovery of this particular area. You guys are on the outskirts of Skullport, just recently buried, or at least contributed to the burial of the strange individual. The Goliath that was trapped inside. What would you guys like to do?
Does a portable hole need like potpourri or anything? Like, do you air it out after the how does that work? Does anybody know that?
I'm sure Gelmir will find out in time.
I think he likes the smell.
What do you mean? I love the smell. It's how I know it's mine.
Okay.
as long as it makes you happy.
Oh yeah. There are a lot. I mean, Alexander's immortality makes me happy. Tyr's propensity for doing everything without really looking like he's doing anything at all. That makes me happy. Wintrude's constant nagging it just reminds me of my wife and her 7 boyfriends. It's all good. It's all good.
7 boyfriends. True.
So, well, I guess what I've come to the conclusion of is I really need to make a note that if you put corpses or bodies in there, we need to take them out in a timely fashion. Because this was disgusting. Let's not do this again.
I mean, it's only gross if they rot. Maybe we just got to find a way to make them so they don't rot.
Nothing good.
All eyes to
comes-
Shogo.
Salt.
Nothing good comes from leaving the dead about. But if you really deem it necessary, I could use my magic to preserve the dead if that becomes a consistent issue.
I think the best way to preserve it is to salt and or smoke.
No, the best way is magic, trust me.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna eat it later, like I normally do, I think salt and smoke is good. Magic kind of gives me acidic goblin reflex. Don't like it. Don't like it.
I'll take your word for it.
Meanwhile,
right.
there's just hairless chimpanzee following him the whole time.
Wait, what? When did it lose its hair?
Don't know, but now it's hairless.
That is terrifying. Have you ever seen that?
Yep.
All right, so
Oh God.
where's the
Why?
entrance to the next floor?
Me and Gelmir located it earlier.
Yeah. It's here. Just follow me. Gelmir just kind of the awkward monkey behind him. Just the two of them are kind of like loping up ahead. The journey out of Skullport doesn't take that very, very long. About an hour, kind of cruising along the cut, up the threads, out into the tunnels. And Gelmir and Shogo had already spent some time exploring this entrance. Although Wintrude had found evidence that maybe his sister or her sister had taken a different route, this route seems to be another possibility. As Gelmir and Shogo begin to show you a cave entrance with a lot of pictographs, writings. Some of it looks magical in nature. Some of it looks like it's just panels of strange kind of visual references. And just like there definitely appears to be writing of some sort here. Although it's difficult to understand, it doesn't feel like language. The tunnel or the cave entrance is maybe about 12 feet tall. And you gotta love Chris's ringtones. They're just... The cave entrance maybe stands about 12 feet tall. It's about 6 feet wide. So each door panel is 3 feet wide. It looks like there was initial signs of excavation here, but the equipment looks abandoned. The rock piles look old. This feels like a place somebody might have discovered, tried to get into it, couldn't figure it out, and they simply abandoned this entrance. I believe the one thing that either Shogo or Gelmir picked up on was that there was a kind of arcane, there was kind of like a magic sensation. Like there was magic here. It was just hard to understand what it was focused to or what it was focused on. It had a bit of a resonance, and they got the feeling that the writing and the imagery somehow might play into this overall ability to get through these doors.
So I don't know if this is applicable or not. I do have I have Eyes of the Runekeeper.
Which does?
Blah 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 blah. where is it? It just simply says you can read all writing. It doesn't really go into like any sort of flourishing description.
You can interpret or read it.
It says you can read all writing.
Interesting.
Before we get into that, the meat
From
of
the
things,
player's handbook, page 111.
I would like to use my circlet of self-disguise to look in like a carnival headmaster, and then I'm gonna start clapping. And me and Gorilla are gonna put on a little show and use my inspiring leader to give everyone temporary hit points. We've been working on this for a while. What do you want me to roll?
Isn't it
Performance or?
You're.
That one is just 15 flat.
Okay, so everyone gets 15 temporary hit points for the day.
Yep. Or until they run out.
What? That's nice.
I mean, what did Gelmir call it? What's the name of this thing again?
Little gorilla.
Little gorilla.
Little gorilla. Yeah, little gorilla.
I mean,
little gorilla.
It's like, and you notice that as it's dancing around doing its thing, its hair starts to grow back all of a sudden. But it's like it's growing too fast, and too much of it's growing back.
No worry, all part of the show, folks.
Yeah, it's just dancing around. Camera's like, what are you doing with my gorilla? That's my gorilla, Tier. Not your gorilla, my gorilla.
Don't worry, he's getting paid a fair wage.
Yeah, I don't know. If I wake up in the morning, he's cuddled with you, I'm gonna be mad. That sucks.
Hey, has anybody thought about maybe? I'm not like a zoologist or anything, but taking a baby gorilla deep into these dungeons and caverns, not the best thing.
It's not really a baby, Wintrude. It's full grown. Look at it. It's bigger than me. That's full grown. Like all you guys are full grown, right? Because you're bigger than me. I'm not taking like a baby Wintrude or a baby Tyr or a baby Shogu or Immortal Alexander down into the dungeon, right? I mean, it's all fine.
I mean, even if the gorilla were grown, gorillas aren't supposed to be underground. They're supposed to be like Cholt. Like Cholt.
What do you have in your handbook on gorillas?
Oh, that's a good point, Wintrude. What do you got in your?
I have very little.
I
haven't had to do any extensive research or noting of gorillas, but I shall begin. I can begin now, forthwith, if you like.
Forthwith.
Well, I think maybe that's your chance to take some research. Maybe you can publish your own book. Dungeon Gorillas, Volume 2.
Why does
What happens when
everybody?
you bring a gorilla deep down into the Underdark?
Well,
And then
I don't even
parentheses,
know.
chimpanzees.
Oh,
Yeah, I keep forgetting it's actually a chimpanzee.
Yeah,
Damn.
Gelmir doesn't know the difference.
But, all right, let's get back to the stuff. Eyes of the Reaper.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a. It just simply says I can read all writing.
Yeah, as you invoke that, you begin to realize that the panels of imagery and the arcane writing is actually smaller pictures. And this is when you begin to realize the entire presentation here is pictographical. Like it's just a series of representations, and that the smaller writing is actually smaller imagery, and they almost begin to tell a story. And as you begin to interpret all of the paneling and the way everything is designed, you begin to realize that this door is telling a story of 7 arcane wizards who built a arcane gate to hide Blackcloak's tomb. It kind of confirms a lot of the notes and information you guys have already gathered. This feels like the entrance, but once again, there doesn't seem to be an obvious way in.
It's like it's more that it's telling like the story of what the seven did. It doesn't say anything about here's what this needs to open the door.
And first panels of the first wizard, there's like 7 panels of representation of each of the different wizards that kind of are responsible for how certain areas of the Undermountain were designed, which kind of confirms the worm chamber, where the worms were brought into existence as a way to quickly, dig out the upper tunnels. The next wizard that like sealed everything off to prevent anyone from getting any further. The ones that you haven't discovered yet are also represented here. The ones, so Winks, Grangy, and Chenix are represented here. Winks seems to be a bit of like the panel that represents that wizard's image is one where they're doing a lot of tinkering, almost like they're working within a workshop. And it's kind of imaged out that way. Another one.
What's the third again? There's Winks, there's Grangy, and
Chenix.
Is that Chenix or something?
Cheynix.
Cheynix.
Grangy's panel seems to be representing almost like a religious effigy of him sealing something, like sealing doors, but it's like this starburst of energy, and he's standing in front of it with this kind of like grandiose kind of religious representation, like he's trying to seal something. And then there's Chenix, who is completely surrounded by humanoid figures that don't necessarily show signs of what those humanoids are.
Yeah. Oh, so that might. Oh, I wonder if that goes back to like what we learned last time, or what the scholar at Candlekeep was saying about the Githyanki sort of thing.
Possibly.
Oh gosh. Oh dear. Githyanki. However you say it correctly,
Githyanki.
Yeah, Githyanki. I'm putting a question mark next to it. Okay, possible.
In my notes. In my extensive notes.
Is there a standard order that the 7 are addressed? Perhaps interacting with the panels in that order could open the door.
I don't want to shock anyone, but I don't seem to know quite at the moment. These humanoids might actually be Githyanki. Are you familiar with the Githyanki? These are sort of beings involved in interdimensional and time travel, and that kind of worries me. Not just for opening this door, if there's some sort of dimensional temporal chicanery we must get up to, but as we go down further, we might not just be geographically going somewhere, we might be like in time going somewhere else, like not even in the common era where we find ourselves in. That's maybe I'm getting off track though. I can't even remember that little grill is actually a chimpanzee, because okay, I'm a little flustered at the moment. What I don't see is what exactly is Grangy depicted as doing?
Grangy is depicted just sealing something, like he's in a religious environment almost, and he's like just kind of got his hands up in the air. He's facing in a profile way towards what feels like a magical portal, like something being sealed. And to the point of order, Annabelle's the first one, and she's the one that you remember as the final one that sealed all the tombs, that sealed all the different levels that you would have access to. And she was like, I believe she was the first one you guys interacted with.
Yeah.
Then there was Crinix, then there was Theo, and then Zeno, all of which seem to be dedicated to the upper portions of the Undermountain, either creating these upper portions and creating the summoning and use of things, including the ceremonial burial chamber that was used to create all the distinct burial outcomes of the different followers of Halaster. This gave you the feeling that Annabelle was the final one to seal everything, and that each level has been kind of gradually revealing what the different students were participating with. Winks, Grangey, and Chenix seemed to be in the panels as if they were responsible for the kind of maybe the entombment of Blackcloak, and that they were responsible for these extreme lower kind of places of existence.
Okay. Hang on.
So do we go from top to bottom or bottom to top? I'm fine trying either way.
Sorry.
I know puzzles on a Sunday is never easy.
No, I'm also trying to. It's funny because I'm trying to type my notes at the same time.
Well, I mean, is it some sort of magical means that we're lacking? Some sort of spell? Is it
like if I
Can
I mean, give me either an Arcana check or an Insight check to see if using that ability to read everything might have kind of revealed something to you.
Oh, you mean like in coordination with what I gleaned from Elminster's journal that I got handed?
Sure.
Before you make the roll,
Okay.
I beckon you to come closer. This will help you think, and I hold my left arm close to you. It's noticeably a bit larger underneath the bandages than the right one. I lift up some of the bandages slightly, and this odd, strong smell, like cinnamon, leaks out. And as you breathe it in, it actually makes you think. It invigorates you as I cast guidance.
Oh shit!
Smells like muffins.
It's like a jump start for my brain. Like,
So
if I roll insight, I have advantage thanks to Alex's gift. So
go for it.
That wouldn't be horrible.
And you add 1d4.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's right, because Alexander gave you that gift. That's right. I forgot about that.
Do I add the 1d4 as its own roll? Like one roll for both advantages? Okay, so let me...
No. You roll the advantages. You roll normal.
Yeah.
You take the higher of the two rolls, and then you add the d4.
Yeah, just 1d4. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. So that's 14 plus 3, so that's 17.
Okay. The panels appear to be out of order.
And do they appear that they could actually be manipulated, or are they large?
Give me a strength check as you suss that out.
okay? Well, for one thing, before I drop one of these on my toe, when I accidentally remove it and I can't handle it, the panels are out of order. It seems like.
All right, put them in
Are
order.
there 7? Are there 7 panels? Is that what I'm seeing? Like the 7 and what they did? Or okay, so we got to go back through and let me see. Strength check. 18.
18. The panels are heavy, but they're they seem to be on tracks. They're almost like they're able to Tetris into different positions.
So do we move these panels in the order of which we've encountered the 7? Like Annabelle first,
But
then
we
the
haven't-
others, I'd have to check my notes. I can't remember the order.
But we haven't encountered all 7, right? So
Correct. So far, you've encountered Annabelle, Krenix, Theo, and Zeno.
Well, it's a start, though. We know who we encountered first.
okay.
The first
Try it.
4. Let's try that. Am I tall enough to actually?
No, the only person probably tall enough is Alexander. Alexander's just back there watching when she
I'm like,
jump
on my
up, trying to
tippy
reach
toes.
the upper panels.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody
Wait, how tall is Alexander?
You're mute if you're talking, Alex.
How tall is Alexander?
6'1".
I'm a half elf. I'll probably be that. Like,
Yeah, you guys are.
I think
I'm-
your height
I'm
is on
3
your
feet.
character sheet somewhere.
If we go in
If
the
you put
order,
it.
yeah, Alex, if we move the panels in the order, the last 3 I'd have to take a deeper look at it, maybe go through again. But the
Okay.
first 4, right? Can you remember? It's Annabelle, Theo,
Krenix,
Krenix,
Zeno.
Zeno.
Zeno
So-
is the one that you remember that was the harvester of the worms, bringing the magical worms into existence. You know that Annabelle was the first of the burials that you ran into. Theo was the one that seemed to be responsible for the burial chamber itself. And Krenix was the one that seemed to have something to do, I believe, with the undead remnants.
If I get hurt from moving these things, Winchard, I'm gonna be very upset with you. Okay.
But you're immortal, Alex. What are you worried about? You can't really get hurt.
I just feel like every time you guys, I've heard the discussion of having me trigger the traps, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm not a
But you're
asked you-
immortal. Of course, that's what you're here for.
Well, it was because of your height. The fire.
Well, do you want me to hold you
episode,
up?
I tried to warn you about the fire ward.
I can hold you up there if you wanna.
I just don't understand what stopped you in the past. Nothing seems to be a trap here. Would you like me
Yeah.
to make a thorough check for traps?
No, absolutely not. But I'm just wondering if
I would
you
like
hold
to
you
set a
up.
trap.
Tier's like over there setting a little smoke bomb.
Tier wants to
I
do some
still
sleight
have
of hand.
I still have the little bear trap that I got.
Yeah,
So how
exactly.
how many things are there to slide?
There
Like
are
7.
7 panels.
Okay, so I just
And-
go and I slide the first 4 like you said, and then I automatically just slide the rest of the 3 at a random.
Okay.
So I just slide all of them.
So the Annabelle panel slides first. Give
Okay.
me a strength give me a strength check
I'm gonna
in
back
general,
up
just as a base.
10 feet.
I'm going to.
That's a 1 + 1. That's a 2.
I'm going. I was about to say I was going to assist him, but before I assist him, I gesture for Mika to go stand by Tier.
Okay, so you have advantage. So go ahead and give me another roll, Alex.
That's a 12.
All right. I mean, it's not overly difficult, DC, to move these panels, but you notice that when you move them, they make kind of clicking noises, like they're interacting with something as they shift. You move the first panel in order. You then put the second panel, the third, and the fourth. And when those 4 panels click and settle into place, you can hear now you can hear something continuously clicking behind the door, like a click, 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 click. And the moment that you move one of the newer panels, it stops the clicking sound in its tracks. So you feel like you get the first 4 in order correctly, but then as you go down the list, the next 3 don't feel quite correct. And once again, the Winks panel is working in a laboratory. The Grangy panel is sealing a tomb. And then the Chanix panel seems to be surrounded by humanoid creatures. Those 3 seem like they need to be in a semblance of order to kind of complete the riddle that's being kind of played out here from an image perspective.
If I had to guess based on the sound that we hear, the next one is Winks. I would guess the one after that would be, what's his name? Chenex, and the last one would be Granji.
With
We
that,
can
you
try
guys, yeah, you watch as Alexander begins to follow what Shogo is saying. And those last three, as they get orientated and put into place, the clicking continues this time until it's winding and kind of like buzzing at a faster pace. And that's when you hear this grinding noise as the outline of the 2 panel doors like settle. And both doors just scrape and barely manage to open. And on the interior now, you could see the beginning of a tunnel that goes in 10 feet, and then a series of stairs carved in the ground that go deep into the darkness below you. You get the feeling whoever worked here before had no idea who all these imageries were. And the fact that you guys had already encountered 4 of the 7, this is a story of this feels like the first kind of attempt at sealing off the Undermountain. And then those students that remained alive then used their powers and influence to continue to make the Undermountain upwards and seal it off as almost like a burial rite of sorts to keep them in hiding. But there's something about those 3 final panels, the kind of the idea that maybe these remaining students were directly involved somehow, either in the sealing of the final tomb down below, which they could, they could have their own tombs even deeper that they were sealed in.
I'm going to use message to send a message to Alex, and I'm also going to disguise my voice to sound like Alex. I'm going to say, great job, Alexander. This is your conscience. These guys couldn't do anything without you.
All right,
But watch out.
Give me performance for starters.
Rubies.
Give me performance for starters.
Son of a bitch.
12.
12. Now give me deception with disadvantage.
Ooh, it would have been a not 20. 21.
21? Actually, good recovery. At first, you kind of feel like your voice is being heard, and then you kind of remember that you're using a spell. Of course, I think Alexander's disappeared on us.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. You begin. So, Alexander, in your mind, you're hearing your own voice, although it sounds a little strange, but it sounds like you, is telling you that without you, they couldn't do anything. That you're the reason why they're being successful. And then a slight laugh in your mind.
The laugh was part of the message.
I don't tell him that this is occurring. Never mind.
You can also respond because of the message. You can respond to the message.
No response.
Alexander's got that like stoic look as you guys are all looking into the beginning of this cavern. Only goes in 10 feet, and then it's just these sharp descending stairs that go deep into the darkness.
Who wants to take point?
I'll go. Gelmir immediately, his floppy feet going forward, and you can already hear him starting to go down the stairs. Oh, it's dark. Be careful.
Wow, thanks for the concern. Does the chimpanzee just run right after him too?
Oh yeah,
where's
just in tow. Wherever he goes, the chimp goes with him.
Well, I guess. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I gently grab Mika's hand and hurry after him with Mika in tow.
I'll also follow behind.
I'll go last.
Okay. As all of you,
Hi.
Alex, are you going down?
Yep.
Okay. As all of you kind of begin the descent of the stairwell, you begin to realize that this is carved from solid rock. Once again, you can see the signs of just ancient activities here, whether forced or done with any kind of equity in mind. It's hard to tell, but this feels like old warrens that you're gradually walking down. It's also starting to get a little bit warm because you're getting further away from the Skullport area where there's not as much like kind of like the coolness of the sea. So now you're below that ground level, and you probably go down these stairs for a good 20 minutes. And because they're carved solidly into rock, there's no real opportunity to notice if there's any traps, because there's nothing to interact with. There's no braziers. There's no levers. It's like you guys are looking at this perfectly smooth environment, these carved stones just constantly going down and down and down until you hear Gelmar's voice like down below you. Yeah, I think I found something. And all of you eventually collect on a platform. It's a perfectly circular platform in a perfectly circular room. No other doors that you can immediately see. There are 4 pedestals in the circular room. One pedestal is in the shape of a flame. Another pedestal is in the shape of a fountain of water. Another pedestal is in the shape of a cloudscape. And another pedestal is in the shape of like a earthen mound. The chamber itself is perfectly around with lots of stones kind of stacked in place, but no door that you can tell at this point.
So 4 pedestals.
Yeah. I'm just gonna stand over here out of the way. I don't know. Yeah.
I immediately search to see if there is a secret door.
Give me an investigation check as you begin to search around the room.
18.
18. The pedestals, the way they're built, look like they are designed to pivot downwards. The area of the round stone floor that you're on, you find a thin seam that runs from each of the pedestals. It's almost as if there might be a continuation of the stairwell hidden underneath the floor.
Guys, I think there's something underneath this floor. I think we should check it out. I don't know.
I imagine we need to solve whatever needs to be done with the pedestals to continue. I apologize for throwing you under the line, but since you are a tiefling and resilient to fire damage, could you inspect the flame pedestal? If you get hurt, I promise to patch you up immediately.
What do I need to do with the flame pedestal? I mean, we can both see the flame pedestal the same, right?
Yeah, all of you can see there are these 4 perfectly placed pedestals that represent the different elements.
I'm gonna walk up and piss on the water pedestal.
At least it's sterile. You guys watch as like Tyr walks up to it.
Wait!
What?
Well, I mean, do you really think urinating on it is a possible solution?
I'll spit on it first.
Well, that's
You
so
guys
thanks for the compromise.
As Tyr spits on it, the globule of saliva, when it like attaches to the flat of the top of the pedestal, there's a burbling sensation from the liquid The pedestal drops slightly before the liquid kind of burns away. It doesn't seem to be quite enough.
Can name a lot of spit.
Oh.
I just open up one of my water canteens, hold it over the pedestal, and just dump it on.
I still have to take a piss.
Then this will help lower the pedestal until you can actually hit it, unless you're capable of pissing 4 feet in the air.
That's easy.
You watch as Shogo is doing this, and it gets to a point where Tyr is like able to relieve himself. And between the water canteen and Tyr, the pedestal, it settles into the ground. There's this heavy sound underneath, and the floor doesn't reveal itself, but the other 3 pedestals are still there.
So I turn towards the one with fire, and I snap to cast Sacred Flame on it and see if that does anything.
Sacred Flame.
You watch as the Sacred Flame lights and then fades, and nothing happens. You get the feeling that the radiant effect is
Because it's radiant.
Yeah, it doesn't
not
feel like a flame effect.
fire.
Oh, well, okay. We got clouds. We got. Dude, well, at least we don't have to pee on everything. That's a bonus.
Well, what are the different pedestals again? Which one do we have?
We did the water one. There's one flame. Clouds.
Water, earth, fire, air. Hey, Gilmer, can I borrow your hole real quick?
My portable hole. Why? What are you gonna do with it?
For the pedestal.
For the pedestal?
Just let me see it real quick.
Sure. He hands it over to you.
I'm gonna unroll the hole, and I'm just gonna do it like I'm cleaning a rug on the air one.
There's not really a lot of resistance to that, so it doesn't really create a breeze.
Okay.
It's just as you kind of like flap it, it sets onto the pedestal disappears because the magic portal appears. But then when you flap it, it reappears. It doesn't seem to react to it.
All right, roll it back up and give it back to Gelmer.
That was really cool, Tyr. That normally that's when Rahi, if she was here, would say, you did a Gelmir.
So you said there were stones in the room too, correct?
There are stacked stone bricks that was used to make the walls of the interior, like the masonry stones.
But they're not loose; they're actually set.
No, they're the walls themselves. Yeah.
And the floor. What's the floor made out of? Is it?
It is solid stone, with the exception of where Alexander saw the lines of the different areas that kind of segment where the pedestals are. And now that the water pedestal is collapsed, there is a slight elevation in the segment of the floor that the pedestal is associated to that one.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's anywhere to gather up like some dirt or anything and try to put it on the earth and
give me a perception check.
Okay, perception. 30.
30, yeah. Actually, you find a bunch of small pebbles and fractured remains of the masonry work. You gather them up in the palm of your hand and kind of place it on the pedestal. There's kind of like a burst of dust as they're consumed, and the pedestal drops down, and the quarter segment it's on slightly elevates, while the water one slightly lowers.
Oh, this is going to be a sort of balancing mechanism, right? They're going up and down in relation to each other.
So at this point, are they all level except the rock one? Or is it like two? Is there 3 levels where it's the 2?
Air and fire are leveled, are perfectly leveled because they haven't been interacted with yet.
Water,
both
and then rock.
earth and water pedestals have lowered, but the earth segment that it was on is higher than the water segment. So it's like up slightly, and the water segment is down slightly. Almost like it's beginning to take the shape of stairways leading
Gotcha.
downward.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna just light a torch and drop it on the flame pedestal.
That one lowers even. That pedestal lowers into the ground. That segment gets lower than the water segment. The water segment's lower than the earth segment. The only one that hasn't been interacted with yet is air. And it feels like if that one drops, it might reveal the stairs that are going to continue down.
Oh, okay.
I use thaumaturgy to scream very profane things at it. You stupid pedestal!
I'm gonna say, hey,
it is
Gelmir,
thunderous.
Gelmir, can you
echo.
turn to a ghost and stand on the pedestal?
No, I like Alexander's idea. It just there's this boom of his voice, and it creates just enough of a compression of air that as it blasts across the pedestal, that final pedestal drops. All four segments begin to kind of lower, and there's just this continuous sound of like lowering stairs. As you guys are now staring down into another deep, dark
I
chasm
immediately
of
run down the stairs. Tried to hold back, guys. Sorry.
Well, Shogo, you just have to get used to it. Trust me, it's sort of a. Gelmir and Alex tend to bound ahead. They do tend to discover all the traps for us that way.
I'm no stranger to raising children. Don't worry.
If there's like a bottom of the stairs, as soon as I reach the bottom, I stop and I want to like check out the surroundings.
So as you and Gelmir sprint down the stairs, they only go down about 30 feet.
Okay.
And as the rest of you follow down, you're in yet another chamber. In this chamber, there are, like, the moment Gelmir and Alexander arrive in here, you watch as this rounded chamber, there are 7 torches. And each torch begins to blaze, like with magical fire. And the walls are now dancing with shadows. And these shadows seem to represent individual positions of combat. And the shadows are dancing in the kind of makeshift light that the torches provide. And once again, no obvious doors or exits.
I cast Mage Hand, which I just picked up in the last level, and use it to try to interact with what I would seem to be the first fighting position. What I would determine to be like the earliest in fighting combat.
Give me insight check as you begin to coordinate that.
That is a 16.
Now give me sleight of hand with advantage.
Good thing I had advantage on that. 20.
20, nice. You guys watch as Alex brings Mage Hand into existence. The Mage Hand floats over to the first shadow. And as it does, that's when you notice that the shadow is a humanoid figure moving in kind of like an attack formation. Like it's almost like it's got a shield and sword. It's just repeatedly attacking with a shield and sword. As you look at the way that shadow is doing that, you can see a copper pressure plate in the ground that the shadow is dancing on top of. And when Alexander points it out, each one of you now see an equal shaped pressure plate, 7 of them in the circular chamber. And each one seems to represent a particular fighting style that these shadows are representing as well.
What are the fighting styles that we can see?
So the first one seems to be sword and shield. Is the first one. The second one seems to be a pikeman. The third one, an archer. The fourth one, a footman. The fifth one appears to be a heavy crossbow. The sixth one appears to be a spearman. And then the seventh and final one seems to be a wizard.
Does anybody have a shield?
I hold mine up. As much as it can be called a shield.
Maybe stand on that platform, or put the shield on the platform, or hand me the shield and I'll stand on the platform.
I shrug and walk over to the pressure plate and step on it.
As you step on it, it seems to bear the weight with you having the shield out. The shadow almost acts like an immediate kind of adversary, and the shadow goes to slam into your shield. Your shield absorbs the attack of the shadow, and you feel the pressure plate make a clicking sound, and it falls in slightly, only an inch or two, and then you can see the beginnings of an outline of a door nearby.
Oh.
I don't even know if there's. Do you think there's an order to this, or do you think we can just go?
Well, let me try.
So I take out my crossbow and then I stand at the crossbow shadow.
Yeah, you stand over at the crossbow shadow. It lowers a bit. There's a section of the door that reveals itself, but it seems to be the bottom corner where the other one was the top corner. It feels like the challenge you have here, Gelmir sees what you guys are doing and immediately kind of puts all of his weapons away and stands on the footman pressure plate, right? And 3 pressure plates are now down, but it feels like this is designed to be opened at the same time. There needs to be at least 7 people on these pressure plates with different, like, it's almost like their weight is tied to the imagery and the shadow of the pressure plate. And the shadow reacts at that moment that you stand on it. So, Wintrude, you're attacked by the shadow. Gelmir's attacked by the shadow. But those shadows are absorbed and the pressure plates go in.
Mm-hmm.
So right now you have the pike, archer, and the wizard.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so we have Grillzilla. You know, he could stand on maybe the footman one. I could stand on the wizard one, and we could even use his bird thing, and give him a pike.
Shogo has someone as well.
Oh yeah.
I'd prefer not to volunteer her.
I stand on the wizarding one, and I kind of put my hands out as if I'm going to cast a spell and kind of maybe formulate something in the hands.
So I've got Alexander on the wizard pressure plate. I've got Wintrude on the crossbow pressure plate. I got Gelmir on the footman. And I've got Shogu on the sword and shield. I still have the pike, the archer, and the spearman.
Please be okay, Mika. I say as Mika has a crossbow slung over her back.
Okay. Put her on the archer spot.
Yeah.
Okay. She goes over, absorbs the shadow effect. More of the door is revealing, so you just have the pike and the spearman left.
Does anybody have a pike or a spear?
No.
Do I look like I'm tall enough?
I'm gonna take a torch and tie a dagger to the torch.
There you go.
You watch his tear. Give me sleight of hand as you make a very impromptu, crude-looking spear.
Not one.
Give me a Constitution save, please.
What the hell?
What the hell?
15.
15. You take half of 18 points of lightning damage as the pressure plate that's made of copper sends a lightning blast up your foot, ankle, your leg, to the and like all your hair just goes into immediate like frizz
What the hell?
as you kind of pull away, realizing that the weight of what you made didn't quite. And then you hear Gelmir, oh yeah, here, hold on. He like goes into his bag of holding or into his portable hole. Here you go, Tyr. Throws you a spear.
Yeah, thanks.
I thought you had one. I mean, that looked like a pretty good spear that you were making. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself, you know.
I mean, thinking about it now, I could have created a packed weapon and maybe given it to you, but I mean, you were looking so good with making the dagger situation.
So, how do we do the pipe? Tyr like very tenderly kind of steps on the pressure plate again, absorbs the shadow. At this point, all the torches have gone out but one. All the pressure plates are stood on but one. The only remaining one now is a pipe.
Okay, I think I could probably do this. I can kind of destroy my longsword pack weapon, create a new pack weapon of a pike, and I could hand it to the gorilla.
Give me persuasion as you do that. I think that's great.
Which is a chimp.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a 15.
All right, now give me animal handling with advantage because it's pretty good persuasion.
Come on! 15.
Nice.
Little gorilla comes over, grabs it from you, and Gelmer's like, "You just gave a dangerous weapon to little gorilla. All right, this is going to be..." And it starts swinging it around like it doesn't know what to do with it and drags it along. And all of you are kind of gesticulating towards the pressure plate to kind of coax it in that direction until eventually kind of like stands on it. And the last torch goes out. There's this prolonged clicking sound as that the pressure plates all settle into spot, like into where the weight is. And you watch as the outline of that door finish. And the door drags out into the interior of the chamber. And you watch as there's like steady kind of puffs of magic light revealing the tunnel that begins to go straight into the doorway. It looks like a long tunnel.
I immediately make the pike disappear, and I regenerate regenerate my longsword, and I'm just like,
Little gorilla goes running over to Gelmir.
I didn't understand the pack weapon as much until I read the new Unearthed Arcana, and it was explaining how like it. I might not like the Unearthed Arcana, but like it actually gave more details about the pack weapon, and it was like talking about how you can like generate it and you can like use it as a throwing weapon, and you can it was like really cool stuff. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So
yeah, I like it.
All right.
So that door has swung open. Gelmir begins to step in the direction of the hallway that's now revealing into this chamber. So you guys have made it through that arcane doorway, came down a series of steps into the Four Elements chamber. You then ended up into this shadow chamber that revealed a doorway into a very long hallway that you guys follow for maybe about 5 or 10 minutes. But it's well lit. It's these small puffs of light, almost like dancing lights, kind of like keep the hallway lit until you get to the end of the hallway. And then all 5 of you are just kind of standing there staring at another door. This particular door has a riddle that goes back and forth on the front of the door.
I semi-mess with Winchard. Winchard, you just stepped on a trap. Don't move. Don't move.
Where? How?
I'm just kidding.
Oh wait. Huh? Are you sure?
Yeah, no. Sorry, I was confused for a second. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Just daintily step forward, gingerly.
I'm not taking any more chances. I'm gonna cast Mage Armor.
Nice.
So we inspect the door, see if I can read the
Okay.
riddle.
As you get closer, give me investigation as you examine the door in a little bit more detail.
Better investigation than a reflex save.
That's a 23.
Okay. That's when you realize that not only is there a riddle written across the door panels, but each door panel is of 2 statue reliefs. And above the 2 reliefs, above each statue, is the word brother on top of each statue, but written in different language. And then the riddle reads, 2 brothers we are, great burdens we bear. All day we are bitterly pressed. Yet this I will say, we are full all the day and empty when we go to rest. What are we?
Great burns a bear. You said full during the day. Empty during rest.
I put
What
it
are
in
the
the
brother-
chat.
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh, what? Okay, this is.
You're bitterly pressed.
And Wintry, with that roll, both the statue reliefs in the door remind you of how cobblers are dressed.
We are bitterly pressed. That's a pair of shoes.
As Tyr says that, both doors open up into the next chamber.
Whoa.
That's pretty
Good
good.
going.
Alex, I'm not on a trap or anything, right? I can keep moving?
Yeah.
Okay. Right?
Alex, why'd you lie? She was clearly standing on a pit trap. I saw where she was. Should say. You know, Wintry, you should, what, why don't you just, here. And Gelmer comes over with his little gorilla and gives the hand of the little gorilla to you. Just stay with little gorilla. They'll keep you safe. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Now, do I still have the ruby? I in my notes, I don't have anything about giving the ruby away. So if I have the ruby,
I think you still have it. Yeah.
I'm actually gonna fish it out because now I'm a little bit paranoid for what Alex said.
Okay.
And as I
That's fair.
go along, I'm like scoping out, like, looking up, down, around.
There's an actual notion when you do that. When you do that and you look through the ruby, it is almost like looking into liquid fog. It's like not revealing anything to you at all. Almost like it's being blocked.
Wow, this is protected by magic, this place, for sure. I can't see anything through the ruby.
I'm guessing this place is screened against scrying. That might be what's interfering with it.
Yeah, it'd really be a shame if it were too easy. Yes. All right, and I'm holding this chimp's hand. Okay, let's press forward. Right, little gorilla? Yeah.
He watches it fling some feces at the back of Gelmir's head. Oh, that just means he loves me. That's fine. It's all about the love.
I'm really not into urination and excrement. I don't know what's wrong with this delving farther in.
You guys step through the double doors of the brothers and into a short hallway that opens up into a huge oval chamber. In the middle of the chamber, a pedestal with an orb on top of it. This orb is like the moment you get near the entrance to this oval chamber, the orb suddenly begins to glow, and you watch as star patterns flash up into the oval chamber. The chamber itself seems to have reliefs of certain celestial bodies. And these seem to be the celestial representations of what's called the 9 primes, the 9 different deities of existence. And here, the orb is pulsing out this starscape. Once again, no sign of exit or stairwells. The orb itself seems to be magical in nature. And as you look, it's a kaleidoscope of starscapes that are kind of pulsing within the chamber. Everybody give me perception check as you begin to examine this chamber.
Nat 20, 22.
Nice.
Filthy 20.
Filthy 20.
I rolled a big 13 because I rolled a fucking 2.
Shogo.
Rolled a 5 for 13.
Okay.
It's because I'm too horrified by the poop that was just flowing.
Between Tyr and Alexander, the two of you realize that these starscapes are celestial bodies. They're representing the 9 prime deities. But they're not quite lining up with the carved relief in the oval chamber itself. It feels like somehow you're supposed to manipulate the orb to get these stars to align, but you're not entirely sure how it's done.
I use Mage Hand to see if I can rotate the orb to line up the celestial body.
Yeah, give me a sleight of hand as you try to do that.
10.
10? The mage hand drifts over, and as it grabs onto the orb and begin to rotate it, you watch as it just disapparates out of existence, just after it touches the orb.
Does the orb look like it could like refract light at all?
Ooh, give me investigation or survival, your choice.
Wow. Ooh, 12.
12. It's definitely reflecting its own light that's from within the orb, but there is something strange about the light that it's reflecting outbound. And that's also because you choose not to touch the orb, but look at it to try to get a sense of itself. It seems to be bound to the pedestal it's on. It doesn't look like it's designed to move. This feels like there's something that's supposed to interact with the light to possibly then make it kind of coordinate with the images in the oval chamber.
Can I try to move the pedestal?
Give me a strength check.
See, like if it, strength check. How about that? Wait, what did I just roll? I rolled a 5.
A 5. You lean into the pedestal, trying to see if it shifts and pivots.
These rolls.
Yeah, it's at that point when you do that, you feel this cold energy arc off the orb and slam into you.
Ow.
Give me a con save.
Ow! Con save. Oh my god, dude. A 6.
You take 15 points of cold damage from the effect, and you're like,
Well, goodbye temporary hit points.
I would like to cast lightning lure, not to like see if I can like rotate it perfectly, but I just want to wrap it around it and see if it would move at all. If we had enough strength to do so.
What would normally be the DC save for the target that you do that to?
It is a strength 17.
Strength 17. I will say that as you cast out the lightning lure, and you feel the energy wrap around the orb, at the moment that you cast it, because of the magical light that the lightning lure gives off, you watch as that light refracts with the orb, and then it begins to kind of outline the 9 representations of the different prime deities. But then the spell effect diminishes because it doesn't last very long. The light refraction kind of like dissipates, and those 9 outlined representations fade away, and they go back to just being kind of free floating and following the incandescence of the orb.
Did I notice if the effect, obviously the effect happened because of the light, but if like I was gonna, did I notice like it changed, like they almost like rotated as I'm like moving this, like based on where the light was coming from? Like if I were to position myself and be able to do some sort of light, that it would change. I guess.
Give me an insight check as you examine that.
That is an 8.
8. You get the feeling that the light collided with the light emanating from the orb, and that's what kind of caused the different 9 representations to refract. It feels like once you do that, there's something else that's got to be done.
You mean like adding light to it, or like a different source of light?
Yeah,
is the thing.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
So Wintrude is on the floor, and the frost on all over her is starting to melt, but she lets out a puff of condensation from the cold, and she sees the light.
Okay, well, hang on. Ugh. Oh, I'm a little stiff, cold.
And so I try to scramble up the pedestal and then touch the orb with my finger and cast light.
Okay, as you do that, the light pours in and begins to refract out. To Tyr and Alexander's point, they begin to notice that as you pour the light into the orb, Tyr and Alexander, you watch as the reflections come back out, and now each of the prime 9 deities is represented here and floating in these celestial bodies. Now you're looking at starscapes that outline the different deities, but the oval chamber has an imagery effect that seems to possibly correspond with each of these celestial star patterns at this point. And it looks like the trick is alignment. How to get them to align. With Wintrude's light effect refracting the energy outwards, they are now outlined. We know that the orb doesn't seem to be able to be moved. So the trick is how to get the alignment to work.
Wintrude, when you attempted to move the pedestal, did it have any give at all whatsoever? Or maybe that was someone
Didn't
else.
feel like it. It felt like it was like built into the stone. Like it wasn't designed to relief into the floor. Like it's almost as if... Actually, give me a survival check, Wintrude, after encountering the pedestal. And you're trying to describe this.
What wisdom have I gained? A 10.
It's almost as if this room used to be solid stone and has been carved into its shape, leaving the pedestal behind.
So the idea maybe the room moves, obviously not the light, or like there might be a mechanism that moves the room around to better.
Possible.
I walk over to the walls and inspect the reliefs on them.
Okay. Give me investigation as you do that.
I wanna investigate I would like to take a closer look at the pedal to see if there's actually mechanisms back, like a lever or buttons or anything,
Okay.
instead of just brutally pushing this time.
Yeah. Give me investigation as you do that.
I help him with that investigation.
Okay. Tyr, anything you want to do while this is going on?
I was just thinking, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it would work. Can I create an illusion of a mirror or something? Maybe an illusion to cover the orb with like slits to try and affect the way that the light is being.
I
off
give
the door?
Tyr. I have like a little hand mirror that I give to Tyr.
All
Okay.
right, well, I'll take the mirror.
So while you're helping Wintrude and Shogo, you're also investigating the wall. Tyr, Alexander hands you that mirror.
I'm gonna stand near the orb, and I'm gonna kind of like move around it to see if, like, messing with the way that the light reflects.
Yeah, give me a sleight of hand check as you do that.
Oh Lord.
Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
26.
26.
Oh Lord, would you have a +6? You gotta roll a 20. Oh Lord, I rolled bad on this one. It's only a
Wintrude,
+6.
what'd you get with your investigation?
27.
Okay. I almost said right. Shogo?
15.
15. So while you're over investigating the pedestal area, and Shogo, you begin to examine the nearby wall of the oval-shaped room. All of you notice a bright light flare out all of a sudden from the orb. And you look over to where Tyr has kind of like angled the mirror so that one of the celestial refractions hits the mirror, and you're now watching as he's able to guide the first celestial body into the imagery. It flares and it kind of lights up into existence, and you look up above the orb, and above the orb there's a hanging chain that's slightly lowering and stops. And then Tyr begins to do that with each of the celestial bodies. All 9 get lined up with their celestial representation. This chain comes all the way down, and it fuses with the orb. You watch as this cold energy wraps up the chain. The orb lifts off the pedestal, and as it begins to spin faster and faster, you watch as an arcane light shoots out of it, slams into the oval chamber, a 5-foot tall, 3-foot wide breach of energy. As this arcanic gate appears.
Oh shit.
Wow. That's really
That was beautiful.
do we go? You know, I'm usually pretty brave about these things, but are we gonna go in there?
Tyr, send gribbets.
What?
Gelmir, send gribbets.
What? Gelmir's just like holding on to little
use
gorilla's
Mage
hand now, and
see if I can.
and Gribbets' his wingtip, like what?
So I want to take out Elminster's journal, and I want to kind of search through like any get Yankee portal stuff. Like
Okay.
I'm looking.
Alexander, what'd you say you were doing?
Mage hand to shove open the door.
There's not really a door there.
Oh, it's not a door.
No, it's just like this portal. It's 5
Oh.
feet tall, 3 feet wide. It's got an electric kind of arcane outline around
Guys,
it.
I'm gonna go in and check this out. You guys wait here. I'll come back and tell you if it's safe. And I just sprint through the door. If it's a portal, it's a portal. If not, I ran into a brick wall.
Being immortal.
You watch as Alexander steps through, and there's like this vapor of arcane, and then you hear Gelmir go, "Well, wait a minute!" And then Gelmir immediately goes following Alexander through the gate.
Oh, okay. I just put the journal back in my pack and go, all right. And I walk in with the chimp on my hand.
I do the same with Mika.
Okay. So one by one, Tyr, you're going through as well.
Yeah.
All of you go through.
Can't overthink it. We're just going in.
And as you walk through this gate, You're now standing in a very densely packed workshop, but it's in the interior of a cavern space. All around you, stone tables, metal tables, all the sights and sounds of like what a workshop would be made up of. Contraptions hanging from the ceiling, piles of parts, crates filled, overflowing with parts. You can see walls just covered in organic and inorganic material that might be used in like making or tinkering with things. You can see some projects that look finished, some that look unfinished. And kind of like in the center of all this, just this huge chamber, you can see this arcane looking wizard. He is hunched over a device. He's like hunched over, it looks to be some kind of creature, humanoid creature laid out on a table, but it seems to be made out of metal, almost like an automaton style creature. The wizard seems to be very desiccated, and that's when you realize it's just bone, skin, and almost like a mummified looking wizard hovered over this automaton in like this relief of like frozen anticipation, like it was working on this thing when it suddenly succumbed to some unknown effect. It reminds you a lot of the image that you saw on the panel that seemed to represent Winks.
I can make it so that we can converse with Winks, assuming this is Winks. But we can only ask it 5 questions max, and sometimes the dead can be, for one thing, they don't need to be honest. They often are rather confused by their situation, and sometimes they can be spiteful. So don't say anything that can be construed as a question, or they might decide to answer it just to fuck with you.
Well, first off, too, are there any points of like any other doors or ways to get in or out besides what we just came through?
No. In fact, looking back where you came through, that immediately closes behind you.
Okay.
As it dissipates.
I really hope there's food down here.
All right, I've got some questions.
So let's go ahead and take our 5-minute break as Shogo is beginning to cast the spell. And then when we come back, we'll see what Winks has to say. This is going to be great. I love this spell.
First off, though, just a rule. Gelmir can't ask a question. It's all going to be about gems. I don't want any questions about gems.
Fair.
All right, I'll be back.
Plan the questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come back with some questions.
Just a question before everyone gets back.
What up?
If I use Turn Undead, can Mika not be destroyed by that?
I mean, I guess it depends on how you.
The way that I flavor it,
Yeah.
that I have in mind to flavor it, it wouldn't affect Mika. Basically, the flavor I have in mind for my version of Turn Undead would be basically a flood of Kaioswarm pheromones, which the undead instinctively know what that is and want to basically get as far away from being infested as possible.
Interesting. I like that.
For the ones that are immediately destroyed by the effect, the flavor I had in mind is they just start ripping themselves apart to escape not being taken over.
Write that up for me when you get a chance.
Hmm.
Send it to me in a PM. Let me think about that. I like that. That's kind of cool.
Sure, I'll do that now while we're waiting.
So, you seem to have discovered Winx's laboratory. While the entire place is filled with signs of a master tinkerer or even potentially a master artificer of sorts. In the very center of the chamber, the desiccated remains, mid-ceremony, of Winx himself attempting to do some kind of spell or activity on this very large autonomous figure lying on a steel table.
Before we do anything, I have an idea, or not. I have a thought about what this guy was trying to do based off of our previous exploits. I think maybe he may have been trying to transfer himself into the automaton.
Oh. Well, let me take a look at the automaton. Like, what does it look like?
Because I know these things because I'm a famed Gundam pilot.
Well, yeah, there was that interaction you guys did when you retrieved the documents to help the Moon Clan deal with their situation. Winter, give me investigation as you begin to examine a little bit more detail this autonomous creature lying on the ground.
18.
18.
Also, I think maybe we should ask what he was doing, to confirm our thoughts, and then if there's any way we can help him.
I mean, if he's even on, I don't know.
I can wake him up, but I think our first priority should be to ask him how we can progress. But if I would certainly be willing to ask what he was doing and how we can complete his work.
What'd you get for investigation, Wintrude?
Was it 18, I think? No, what was it? Sorry, what was the... Let me go back to the log. That was 18.
18. As you could kind of hear everyone talking about some of the, like, to Tyr's point, running into the kind of unusual figure that helped one particular clan of Drow out, it seems to be a viable possibility. But as you begin to examine this autonomous structure, this creature laying on the table, it seems very different in both make and purpose when you begin to examine it. The one that you dealt with before seemed almost like a kind of like an experiment, like somebody was trying to learn how to do this. looking at the quality and nature of this autonomous creature on the table, it's about 7 feet tall, and the intricate designs and the kind of like arcane Cyrillic writing within the design and these little points, they remind you of the power stones that the other one used, but these power stones are active. They're embedded into many different points of the autonomous structure. This feels like advanced work, like very advanced work. And on the chest is like a celestial pattern that is translated into Guardian Keeper. So this thing has already been named. This thing feels like it's being brought into existence for a very specific purpose because of the advanced design of it. Whether it's intended, to Tier's point, to absorb this particular caster's sentient nature into it, hard to tell. For the most part, you get the feeling that it was trying to do something to come into existence, but you're not entirely sure. But the construct itself is very advanced and very intricately designed.
Well, it says it's a Guardian Keeper right here. And then we saw the panel with like a sort of starburst celestial thing sealing up the doors. We don't want to turn this on, right? Because we already saw images of it sealing doors. This sort of celestial sort of image here, Guardian Keeper. Like if we turn it on, it's a guardian, and we're intruders, right? Everybody sees where I'm going with this, correct?
You hear Gelmir, yeah, turn it on.
Yeah, we definitely need to turn it on. I don't understand why we're wasting time. Don't you want to like learn about the unknown, and this you don't know?
I like to learn about the unknown, but also come to conclusions that keep us safe based on what I learn. And anything named the Guardian Keeper, 7 feet tall, like this, and it's far better designed than the other automaton we crossed.
Do I know how to turn it on? Like, is it obvious?
I mean, give me investigation or insight to see if you can figure out if there's like maybe a biomechanical or some kind of magical way potentially to turn it on.
Okay.
I agree that learning about the unknown is definitely a good thing, but it's better when said unknown variable is not trying to reduce you into meat paste. So I would prefer we leave it off until we can talk to Wings.
Well, hang on a second. Let me take a look.
Do I see any like sort of desk or bookshelves or something where like there might be
Tons of them. I mean, this is a working. I mean, there's desks, tables, stacks of supplies, bookshelves filled with inorganic, organic componentry. There is just a ton of stuff.
So I'm kind of on top of, I guess I had to clamber up. I'm not sure like how else I could see what's going on with this Guardian. But then I'm looking around, taking all this in. And then I turn back to Gelmir and Alex especially.
Could you give me some time to go through the journals and other writings here to see what I can find out? And could you promise not to touch this thing? Could you promise not to try to turn it on?
So what did my 18 give me?
Like as Richard's in your ear, Gelmir just wants to flip the switch. You like looking at it. It's incredibly well built. Unlike the one that you guys ran into before, there's no place to put anything in. Like there's no obvious entrance point into this one. It's got a lot more of the power stones embedded to its entire body, but it's so intricately made. And the one thing you do, Alex, because it's always fascinating to you, you just take your hand and wrap the metal, like just just knock into the metal. And as you kind of gently try to figure out what kind of metal this is, your hand kind of doesn't even like make a resonant sound. Like, you know it's fabricated from something, but when you tap on it, it doesn't make a noise. And it feels like a metal surface, but it doesn't respond like any metal before that you've ever been familiar with. And there's no on switch. There's no obvious way to turn it on. But there's no sense that there's any way to get inside of it or to be able to pull it open. This feels like it got almost like built into this condition without any need of assembly. It's very strange.
And then, yeah, okay. And if I look around the area too, does it look like anything's like connected to this? So what is it? It's like, is it laying on its back?
It's just laying on its back on a metal table with no obvious kind of conduit or any kind of chain or copper connectors. It's just on its
Do I
back.
feel any magic coming from the table itself?
Do you have detect magic?
Do I have?
I mean, the whole thing's magical in the auditory
is.
and visual experience. If you want to go with that,
Takes moment to regret spell.
If I like push at it and see if it's like pushable.
like the table, if it can be.
No, the actual.
Give me a strength check as you do that.
16.
16. As you begin to try to shift the autonomous creature, while the legs shift a little bit and the arms shift a little bit, the center of its form, like its torso, doesn't shift at all, almost like it's being held in place.
So Wintred, it's being held in place. It seems like by the torso, and I don't see it being connected to anything, and I don't see a way to turn it on. So be my guest.
So you're giving
All right.
me permission because you can't do the dangerous thing I asked you not.
No, I was.
Ew.
That's not. No.
Yeah, all right, thanks. Let me go look.
I was just trying to help
It-
you.
I'm just
you know.
asking for some patience because there's a lot in here. I don't know how long this could take.
I was just trying to speed up that patience. There's nothing wrong.
Okay. Well, all right, give me
Yeah, a little speed.
time.
I can productively help pass the time. I start taking out my kit, basically a sort of glass cauldron-like container, and I dump a packet of basically nutrient slurry into it and mix it up. I position Winx's head so that it's lying back submerged in the slurry. And as this is happening, for a brief second, something kind of turquoise green slithers out from underneath my bandages and up Winx's nose. There's a slight
Ew.
pause, and Winx begins to twitch, and I lift his head out of the goo.
So take
We are-
you. Are you casting Speak with Dead as a ceremony then?
I don't think it can be done as a ceremony, but that's
Right.
just the way that I'm flavoring it.
Gotcha.
So I'll mark that spell off. But
So with that, Shogu has concluded casting the effect of Speak with Dead. As Wintrude, you drift off to start looking through the available piles of miscellaneous kind of like notes and journals and schematics and spare parts. Give me investigation for that, Wintrude. Tier, anything you want to be doing with your time?
I'm just going to be overseeing the interrogation of the corpse.
Okay.
That's a 31.
31. Well, Alexander was trying to find a way to just power this thing on and figure out how it functions. See if there's any connection with the table. Tyr and Shogu and Gelmir, will say, is off to the side, just kind of randomly picking through the different piles and parts. He's a bit of a klepto, so he's kind of in the area looking as well. And Shogo and Tyr seem to be interacting with bringing the wizard into a condition that will allow them to ask questions. There's a couple tables that make up a significant amount of detail for you, Wintrude, and you realize that you've discovered the trove of detail the way the creature was assembled. And here you find a schematic of the physical remains of a body that something was built around. As opposed to the other one where something was inserted into it after construction, this feels like something that was once living or humanoid in representation of these drawings. The device was built around it. The notes and kind of like drawings and designs are written out in such a way as to, it's almost like they're talking in the third person. We did, by assembling the celestial seams with the founding of the power stones within the engravings, we find that this binding point to be more successful. I think Master will definitely appreciate this new form. And kind of the notes talk about someone being referred to as the Master, accepting this new form, coming into existence. But all the documents are signed, you know, with the moniker of Winks Halaster. This all seems to be the personal writings and kind of assembly instructions for what feels, well, it doesn't feel like it because you find some journalistic notes. It seems that Winks was working on creating an animated Death Knight.
Oh, God.
Okay, now turn it on!
I look up, like, just, you know, all of a sudden, it's like that those Steven Spielberg moments, you know, where somebody sees something that looks up.
Don't do anything! It's a possible automated, like, Death Knight beyond the grave, sort of. We don't want to turn it on.
You watch as Winks's head begins to turn. Their eyes kind of sodden with the strange mixture that Shogo used to bring it into existence. Its mouth falls open. The skull starts looking around. Its eyes, milky, desiccated, kind of like just white, pure oculars that are dry. Every time it moves, bits of dust kind of crease off of its skull.
I apologize for bringing you back in such a condition, but I have some questions I need answered. We are looking for Blackcloak's tomb. How can we reach there from this location?
Master's tomb. It sits deep in the Undermountain. To reach it, you must pass through many trials. I am neither here nor there.
How can we escape this room when necessary?
That sounds like two questions. Which one would you like me to answer?
You are obligated to answer 5.
To escape this room presumes you are trapped. Leaving this room is always necessary. 2 more. 2 more questions is all you get.
Should
What
we
were
ask
you
it
trying to do here?
The perfect protector. The perfect creature designed to lead one from walking astray. Here, in between the places of existence, I have created the perfect guardian, the perfect sentinel.
This
Well,
is
that's
actually
great.
better than most of the results I've gotten.
Yes, I agree.
That wasn't a question. Is he inanimate now?
No, you got one more question left.
All right.
That was mostly sarcasm from the dead.
Okay.
I have you having only asked 3 questions and gotten 3 answers. Because you asked, how do we?
No,
do
one
we
of the
get to the
questions
tomb,
was
right?
actually 2 questions.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
You got 1 left.
Go ahead. Ask.
I would be willing to assist in your final task if it was beneficial to us. How can we bring your guardian online under our control?
That's online or control. That's 2 questions.
Online under my control. That is a specific condition of what I am trying.
And like the
Dude.
creature just, the dead, desiccated form just goes,
You already have.
and you watch as the desiccated, mummified form just turns to dust. But instead of
God.
collapsing to the ground, the dust begins to swirl as there is pulsing light emanating from the sentinel automaton on the table. You watch as the dust settles across it, and you watch his fingers begin to twitch. Arms begin to kind of twitch. You watch as the glowing power stones kind of leap into arcane light. The engravings that make up the outline of the figure begin to brighten with the reaction of the desiccated dust of the remains of the creature kind of like absorbing into the sentinel as the thing is beginning to whir and show signs of becoming animated.
No!
Does this thing have organic components that I can see?
Give me a medicine check as you begin to examine that. Wintrude, Tyr, Shogu, and Alex, and to a certain degree, Gelmir are all surrounding this thing as it seems to be powering up at a very slow pace.
Nat 20 for 32.
There are 0 organic elements that you can make out. None whatsoever.
I'm gonna cast.
From that,
Go ahead, Tyr.
I want to cast Dispel Magic on the automaton.
At what level?
I'll cast it at the 4th level.
Give me a d20.
Alright. I see. Which spell? Okay, so wait. What does casting at a different level do?
It helps your attempt to dispel it. So I believe it's a DC 10 plus the level you cast at plus your roll, or
Gotcha.
plus the level this spell was cast at. So I believe
So it's just the DC equals 10 plus spells level.
correct of what
So
you're
like-
trying to dispel.
Yeah. So I don't think I have to roll, right?
Well, you have to roll because you're trying to dispel the effect.
Okay.
And the effect that you're attempting to dispel is cast at a very high level.
Do I get to use what is that? I thought there was a bard thing. I mean, is it just jack of all trades? You can add a half your proficiency bonus or no to any ability check. No, that's not it. Maybe not. Never mind. I thought there was something that made it would help that. But all right, so I'll roll this. 16.
16. You attempt to dispel the effect that you see kind of unfolding around you. You watch as your spell energy is immediately absorbed into the creature construct. And you watch as more of it is now becoming more animated after you do that.
From my medicine check, can I determine whether or not it can be poisoned and how effective necrotic damage will be against it?
With that medicine check, you get the feeling that it is immune to all those effects.
Gotcha. Let's see.
So, Intrude, as you're poring over these schematics and details, basically the remains of the armor and exterior of a Death Knight was being tinkered with. You get the feeling from your written material that you found that Winks was attempting to create an animated host set of armor to be infused into a test subject. The test subject's remains were used to be absorbed into the Death Knight's armor because it's just without a lingering lost soul of a particular nefarious nature. He found or discovered that it was very difficult to create the animated or the animus way of bringing the armor into existence. He was toying with some pretty dark stuff here.
So folks, it's like a Death Knight in the core of it with an armor shell around it. What happens when it wakes up?
Oh wait.
I
The
apologize.
table
but
suddenly
I think-
pivots.
Oh shit.
You're watching as it is gradually becoming more animated at this point. Arms and legs beginning to twitch and move. The celestial kind of brightness of the engravings getting brighter. The power stones getting brighter as well.
One sec. So I did look at I reread the stuff. So I do get to add the half proficiency. So it would have been 18. I don't know if that changes anything.
Close, but not quite.
Oh,
It is a high level spell that he used for this. Actually, pretty darn close.
dang. So
Well, it's more interesting this way anyway.
So do
You
the
watch
notes?
as it stumbles slightly forward. Its visor now beaming this like optics red out of the armor itself. You watch as the creature is now standing. It's huge 7-foot form, kind of its glacial plate armor looking around. This disembodied voice coming booming deep out of the armor.
I see and understand.
You watch as it steps forward. It presses its armored hand on its chest. This kind of like illuminate orb bursts out in front of it. It steps in, closes behind it. It's just a smell of ozone, and the creature is gone.
That could have gone worse.
Well, nobody got their head punched in like a.
Hey,
pumpkin.
that one ran off kind of like the other 5 that we, the other 4 that we interact. Gilmer's like, yeah. I think we scared it off and it ran away. I think that was perfect. Mission successful. It was afraid of Alexander and his immortality. You know how this goes.
What if it's out there sealing doors like in the panel and some of the other information? All right, we gotta look for a door or something, some way out of this place. But it said like we are presuming we're trapped. Are we trapped?
Gilmer's like, yeah, definitely. I don't see any doors or windows. I mean, unless we, I haven't seen any. I haven't really searched for any though either. Did you know this guy's got a ton of stuff? I'm finding a lot of cool things.
Anything that opens a door?
No. Like a physical door or?
Yeah.
Well, he described this place as being in between places. Maybe there's a magical way out of here.
In between places, magical way out.
Technically, I know how to. Worst case scenario, I know with the spell banishment, so I can technically return you home. I'm not sure if you can cast that on yourself, but I hope that it won't come to that.
Banishment.
But that's like a different plane of existence.
I assume we are in a different plane of existence.
Oh, I see. Boy, that's not comforting anymore, actually, now that I think about it.
I'm just going to see if I can try to find... And Gelmer just starts wandering off into the crowded refuse of the laboratory.
As I said, last ditch.
Okay.
Technique.
We start banishing people.
You will return to the material plane. Probably.
I don't even know how to begin looking for like a magical door or like opening an arcane portal. I mean, I haven't been very magical for very long. I'm going to let you know. We've only been doing this thing 2 weeks.
Let's hold off on the banishing.
Yeah, well, agreed. Lee, is there like a panel, a thing, an orb, a wand?
I'm just going to start searching, kind of join Gelmir in searching around just the various piles of, well, not piles, just looking around the workshop for things of interest.
So throughout the workshop, is everything just strewn about, or is there some semblance of order?
It's organized chaos. It's like tables are covered in neatly stacked like books. Some tables have crates of like componentry. It feels like you're in a hoarder house with organizational skills, but not necessarily an order that makes sense. It's a junkyard that is just completely kind of somebody that spent a lifetime trying to build something, and the leftovers of that effort are neatly stacked and organized all around you.
I'd like to go to a random stack of books and read the title, see if I can make out any grouping
Okay. Shogo, go ahead and give me investigation. Tyr, give me perception. Wintrude, anything you want to do at this point?
I want to look at the schematics and see how that thing teleported out of here.
Okay. Give me an Arcana check as you do that.
Because I'm quite
Alexander?
confused.
Anything you want to do?
I was thinking of yeah, this is a long shot, but grabbing my necklace with the soul fragment of Xeno that I got from the other thing, and just kind of like holding it up and trying to talk to it, saying, "Do you have any information that could help me here? You know, if so, now's the time to talk." You know, like a real.
Give me charisma. Give me a charisma save as you do that.
So I rolled an initial 13.
17.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no. Listen.
17. Okay. Wintrude?
13. If it fails, I can add a D4 to the roll with Pact of the Talesman. I'm wondering if I need to use Pact of the Talesman.
Add D4.
Shit.
Son of a biscuit.
16?
Shogu, what'd you get for your investigation? 4? Okay. And Tyr for perception.
25.
25.
Nice work here.
So, Shogo, for you, it's confounding and confusing. It's spare parts, junk, incomplete projects, the remains of activities that seem to be either pulling things apart and extracting very specific things used. And these physical remains are everywhere.
I have almost no knowledge whatsoever of mechanical constructs, so
Yeah.
I'm completely out of my element here.
I would say the lack of organic references kind of makes you feel a little kind of creeped out. You're used to there always being kind of like an organic element into your understanding of the nature of your magic, and because that's missing here, you begin to realize this workshop has no signs of organic kind of componentry remains or anything. This is pure mechanicus, the idea of taking physical things and turning them into useful things. For you, Tyr, the very first stack of books you begin to kind of look over, they range in years of about a 500-year time span. It kind of plugs in neatly to the period of Blackcloak's absence and the kind of control of the apprentices over the Undermountain until even they eventually kind of disappeared. And these books read like a who's who of either artificer magic, infusion magic, animated magics, everything you would need to learn to become a master artificer is in this stack of these 12 books. And they look very well used, like they were used heavily over a great deal of time. One particular book strikes your fancy. Give me a history check as you read the spine.
14.
14. There's one book that's titled on the spine of the book, Qualish's Musings. Now, that's interesting because Qualish is an unknown understanding of time. He was a famous gnome artificer, kind of wizard-like individual that have become renowned for their successes in creating machines and devices. But it's kind of out of place from a standpoint of the time span, which tells you one very simple fact. This particular student may have figured out a way to time travel.
I'm going to open a book, look for any notes, bookmarks, annotations.
You open it up. It is it is the writings of someone who was going quite mad. The notes and scribbles are of frustrations, confusion, no breakthroughs, as the personal writings of all these notes that are annotated in the margins by Winks. It's a diatribe of frustration. I can't figure out how this works. Can't figure out how to make this work. It's like I'm missing something. I'm missing some final step to create this sentinel to aid Master's return from where he has gone.
Glad we could be of assistance then.
Yeah, as he just teleported out of the room.
I should have used a fucking bardic inspiration before we did this stuff.
For you, Alexander and Wintrude. What, Alex? What? Oh, that's right. You were invoking Xenon.
Yeah, I mean, it was
oh,
just a last
I'm
ditch effort.
well. I'm looking at something I wrote for that, and I cringe at the idea of reading it. But so, two things kind of strangely happen at this point. As you infer the arcanic detail of the sketchings and the writings and the kind of drawings that you see, Wintrude, something catches your eye. Like the way the notes and the schematics are, to acquire such a unique thing as an intact suit of Death Knight remnant. I mean, that requires a lot of ability and power. No matter how powerful you think you are as an arcane wizard at any given point, this is something that feels beyond. And you look around, and sitting over on a table is a card-sized box.
Heart-sized or card-sized? Like
Card. C-A-R-D. Card-sized box. On top of the box, it is like the relief of a mage's inverted hand, and written in arcanic spell writing within the inversion of the hand, 4 words: deck of many things. You get the feeling that this wizard pulled a card and somehow got this Death Knight remnant, and then was able to, at least in principle and in practice, assemble the Sentinel.
Like he pulled a card with a Death Knight? And
no, like he pulled a card that aided him in getting one.
Oh.
What? Let me get that card.
Okay, so hang on. Wings.
For you, Alexander, wherever you are right now, you could feel this connection with the idea of who the original owner of this amulet was. And that's when you begin to realize, as you try to focus on the entity, the magic of this place begins to kind of coalesce around your mind. And that's when you realize you and your friends are inside of a creation of sorts. And you're in the ethereal plane of existence. You are in between places. You're neither on the material plane or on a other plane of existence. You're in that thin veil of reality that shifts in between different places of existence. Whatever Winks did, he managed to create this laboratory, this vast laboratory of existence. And he created it in such a way to be safe from prying eyes, physical people getting here. However, the breadcrumb of the different chambers that eventually led you here And you could hear Zeno's kind of breathless voice. Where there's a will to get in, there's a will to get out. It just kind of echoes in your mind.
Guys, I don't know how to say this, but I strongly believe that we're not on... We're like in the in-between land. Like a place that exists but doesn't exist. And I had a voice kind of contact me that basically said, if there's a will, there's a way. And doesn't really help us much. But Winshard, maybe you can decipher something from that.
I feel like just accepting that now.
I want to. I turn around and try to give like a deep nod of understanding to Alex, but then I want to like kind of huddle over this deck of many things, and I want to just creak open the top like of the box and see what's in it. I'm scared to open boxes around Alex and Gelmir, basically. Everything to those two is like a gem, so it's like...
I can't imagine why you would be. I mean, everything's going fine.
But yeah, I want to creak open that box and see if there's like a deck of cards or something inside, like what actually is in this deck of many things.
You kind of peek into the open box after hearing Alexander's concern about where you guys might be. You could see inside there a small leather bag with, once again, stitched on the outside of the leather bag, the same emblem you saw on the box, and then the same kind of writing, the same words on the bag. And as you look at the bag, it's got the outline of like cards, and it feels like the cards might be inside the leather bag that you're staring at.
Mm-hmm. I reach in and pull out a card just to see you. I just breathe. I take a breath.
Roll me a D20, please. Good old-fashioned D20.
It's a 10.
10?
It's going to take it down the middle.
As you pull out the card, there's an image of an old man living in a cave. There's a flare of energy across the face of the card before it disintegrates in your hand, and the word hermit kind of like pulses. Anything that you have of possession that is non-magical is now gone.
Oh, so all my non-magical stuff is gone?
Gone.
Oh, crap.
What? I just lost the latest volume of my romance saga. My notes. What?
And I collapse on the ground, like sitting cross-legged, and I start to hyperventilate. Just...
I rush over, taking out my bedroll and drape it over her. Both to comfort her and to cover her up, because most of her clothing was also non-magical.
I don't have any clothes. I don't have any books. My journals. This. What happened?
But I'm just staring at the deck, at the box.
Yeah, like you see Wintrude is holding a small leather bag that she just pulled a card out of. and then the card blazed with the word hermit in arcane writing. The card vanished, and as soon as the card vanished, everything she was in physical possession of that was not magical is now gone. I mean, I'm kind of glad Gelmir's not here today. What are you guys doing?
Well, I'm on
I'm
the floor
just-
hyperventilating for a second.
I'm just trying to like kind of hug her, I guess, like try and calm her down best I can. But I'm concerned. I have no idea what magic is afoot here, so I'm concerned it's going to happen to me as well.
Hey,
so-
what's wrong with Wintrude? Is she sleepy? Why is she under a blanket?
Oh my!
So the thing is, like, everything falls around her. That is like her crossbow, which is magical. Her daggers, all her weapons, practically. The arrows would be gone too, though, right?
Yep, they would
there's
be,
no
'cause I don't
arrows
think
to
they were
shoot or anything.
magical, yeah.
Yeah, they were not magical arrows. Yeah, all her writing materials, the journal's gone.
Yep.
So I leave all my items are in a circle around me, I guess. I get up and I kind of stumble a few feet, and I pull out another card just to see I'm in such shock that I'm like, maybe there's a card that gets me
Just
my
like you
stuff
pull
back.
out another card.
Gambling addict.
Give me another D20.
Hang on.
You're about to get booted from the mortal realm.
11.
11. Okay, roll a D4, please.
What the
Ooh,
hell?
hot diggity dog. A D4.
Yeah,
This is to decide how many heads she'll have.
One. That's actually pretty good. You suddenly you watch as the card appears in front of you, and it's a image of a wheel spinning,
Okay.
and emblazoned in arcanic light on the card, it says Wheel of Fortune. It stopped spinning, the card disintegrates in your hand, and in your hand in its replacement is a scroll.
Ooh.
I'm going to try and gently confiscate the deck. Just
I leave that up to Wintrude. Shogo's like
No,
gingerly
wait.
reaching.
Wait, no, just give me a second.
So what happens?
You watch as she kind of opens up the scroll. Give me an Arcana check as you read the scroll, Wintrude. Oh my God, Swamp Thing's like, keep pulling cards! Keep pulling cards!
22.
22? It is a scroll of Planier Shift.
Ooh. Ooh. That would help. Hang on. I forget how many people you can use on that. Like usually, like you have to. It's like the spell level, right? That determines the number of people you. I can't remember how that works.
I mean, reading the you get the feeling that the scroll is incredibly powerful.
So, okay, I'm naked. I gotta. How do I?
And I kind of make a toga for myself out of
Yeah,
the
like-
sleeping bag, and I kind of search for some rope and some stuff to stuff my dagger in and my worthless crossbow now, and
I'll give you 19 crossbow bolts.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so fellas, this is a scroll of Planier Shift. We can get back to the material plane.
Question is, where are we going? Like,
Well, I'd assume I could just go. Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
alright, our exploration brought us to that last room with the pedestals, and that teleported us here. Where do we go from there?
Well, let me think about it for a sec.
And as I'm saying, I'm thinking about it. What I'm doing is I'm kind of turning my head around too to see if there's any clothes or just anything where I might.
I would say
barely
from the
fit into
previous
them.
investigation rolls, there's quite a few. Like,
Oh, you know
nothing
what?
your size, but
Guys.
there are like backpacks lying around. There's like, spare trousers, spare tunics, just kind of, neatly piled up in different places. Like maybe they belong to clothes to people that were brought here in the past. I mean, trust me when I say this is a place just filled with a lot of stuff.
Well, I would have jumped the gun. I think I kind of jumped the gun after what Shogo said. My armor is magical though, so I'm not naked. I have this. I have the studded leather still.
Okay, you just don't have any boots on or socks or.
Yeah, I don't have like that thing.
Yeah,
but I still have
is gone.
Yeah, like I still. Yeah, so like
Your backpack wasn't magical, was it?
No.
And what was in your back?
Well, that's what I was saying is
that would have had all your journals and everything.
All my journals and notes and my.
Where was all your personal wealth?
It was probably in the backpack.
Yeah, that's gone as well.
I mean, where else would I have carried that stuff?
I know,
right?
exactly.
Like, I don't know if I would have carried it in my shoe.
Next time you draw a card, just put everything else in someone's possession.
Yeah, I gotta get rid of all my money too.
Damn. Broke is a joke.
I think it's hilarious. Actually, it's a good twist. So yeah, I look around for some boots, any sort of serviceable gloves or something. Okay. If it's not part of my armor, I don't know if
What are you doing with the remaining deck? Are you keeping it on your possession or?
Yeah, I put it into like a pocket or something in the leather.
Okay.
Oh my god!
And I try to, as best I can, I try to strap like my dagger, get my crossbow. I still have the amulet talisman, and then the talisman from Timor, like the packed item.
Okay.
So I have like weapons, and I take a few. I try to quiver them as best I can, or like whatever for the.
I mean, I'll say that you find another backpack that you kind of are able to jam the crossbow
kind of dust off
into. And it's a ruddy old leather backpack. It's once again, it looks like there have been numerous people brought here, stripped of their possessions, and their possessions just kind of left in neat little piles.
Maybe some serviceable boots or something just for my.
Sure, yeah. There's plenty of that lying around.
Yeah, because again, as I've said in previous sessions, Wintrude does not like her hairy feet, so she's like very desperate for boots.
Well, we can either search for a magical way out, other than the scroll, or we use the scroll. But I don't. Tyr, you bring up an excellent point. I don't know where we go.
So maybe we look around a little bit more to figure out. So maybe there's a layout of the dungeon that we can find, like a map, or maybe even like a diary of where this person traveled to and from the Winks.
There's certainly plenty to do here. So I'm in no hurry to leave. I'm just glad that we can.
So for those that want to continue investigating this workshop, give me fresh investigation checks.
I will do that.
Okay.
I'm going to use guidance on someone.
Alexander, extra D4.
I got 22.
Extra D4.
Nice. 22 for Tyr.
I'll get a 4. 17.
17 for Alexander. Wintrude, any additional investigating you want to do?
I'll take a cursory look at like sort of the floors and walls if there's some way to
Okay, go for it.
Investigation or okay. 26.
26. Nice. So,
I'm
Tyr,
I'm
you
also
come-
deleting all my items right now.
Tyr, you come across something very interesting. You come across notes and reference to something called the Maze of Madness. And it's this very intricately designed map with lots of landmarks, lots of notations about traps, potential pitfalls, creatures that wander through the maze. And it seems to have been written out by Granji. You kind of infer that this might be the level of the Undermountain designed to protect the access to the lowest levels of the tombs and the lowest levels of the Undermountain. And it seems to be authored and created by one of the wizard students, one of the acolytes. For you, Alexander, you come across a book of spells. Not quite spells that you're overly familiar with. They are spells that seem to deal heavily in something called chrono magic.
Okay. And do I know chrono means time?
It might. Reading some of the spell descriptions, they
Yeah.
either talk about spells that allow time to shift in 10, 20-second bursts, allow you to augment the reality of a single person, the ability to duplicate objects, the ability to... It's like as you thumb through this spell book, it's a gradual, kind of like increase of references of spells that are related to time-like inferences until you get to the last section of the spell book, and you realize there's a name written in the back of the book cover that says Halaster Blackcloak on it.
Oh. Well, I try to pocket these books.
It's only one spell book that you can see.
Okay. Yeah.
And you grab it off the shelf. For you, Wink, or for you, Wintrude, no real luck finding anything in particular. It just feels like you guys are in this overflowing. It's like the room of many things, of many requirements for Harry Potter, just not nearly as grandiose, but the way it's designed to contain all these oddities. Tyr has found a map that describes the Maze of Madness. Alexander came across an interesting book. You've got by luck, by the way, that was incredibly lucky that you rolled an 11 to get that power card, the Wheel of Fortune card. That could have gone completely different. As you've retrieved a scroll of Plenial Shift. What are you guys doing?
I rolled a 16 for my investigation.
Okay. For you, Shogo, it's once again, it's a little disturbing, the lack of organic matter here. There's just all this mechanic stuff, parts and pieces everywhere. But you do find a handful of stone-like fragmented tablets. And they seem to be religious tablets dedicated to the god Bane, god of murder and death.
All right, I'll pocket those.
Okay.
I needed to ask a question about inventory for
Sure.
a moment. So my other possessions, I would still have Zeno's staff, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Healing potions.
Yep. They're magic.
Elminster's journal, was that magic?
It would
any
be
sense.
magical as well.
Okay, I just want to know which
Yep.
the book Under Dark Flora and Fauna.
Nope, that's not magical, so
Gone.
that's gone.
Annabelle's Book of Necromancy.
That'd be gone as well.
Okay, so get rid of that. Okay. The Silver Tome, Instructions on How to Embalm a Humanoid for a Ceremony.
That's gone as well.
Okay. And then finally would be the I gave the journal about the 7 disciples back to
The lore keeper.
the scholar at
Yep.
Okay. So and then I did have a statue of Annabelle, or to Annabelle, a true disciple of him, Blackcloak. Like I had a statue, probably, I don't know if that's magical or not.
No, that'd be gone as well.
Okay, so
Wait, no, the statue would still be there. Sorry, that's
Okay.
still with you.
Statue from Blackcloak. Dang, I just erased it. I don't know what the hell that was again. Okay, anyway. And then I would, I still have a jar of restoration. Can bring someone back to into existence.
Yep, you still have that.
Okay. Yeah, I think everything else has been. I have my studded leather +1. Yeah. No. Okay. Got it. Thanks. Sorry about that, guys.
I think you're the one who loses out most in this in this scenario.
Well, anyways, I like the turn of it. I like the fun of losing my stuff. But also, at least it wasn't like Ghelfi or somebody else who has like, I don't count on gold and money and stuff really. So I'm kind of like, oh, I lost some stuff, but I don't know. Anyways.
So do we try this scroll?
I think we do.
I mean, as I said, there's still much to be found here. So
Okay. Well, I mean, if you want to take a second, I'll look around at some book. I lost everything. So I lost everything.
And again, she looks like, because she keeps thinking of like her latest saga. Like she starts muttering some names of like her characters. Like,
Hey, how do I get back what happened to? Let's see.
Well, if we're gonna continue investigating, I'm just gonna look to see if there's any like items of use. Like
Okay, like specific items that might be like something you could actually use, as opposed to just signs of just pieces of junk and spare parts and like leftover.
maybe some magical
contraptions.
items or anything
Okay.
that could have been left behind.
So at this point, you guys have spent a lot of time searching this chamber. So everyone, give me one final investigation with a little bit
Okay.
more kind of specific twist to it. So you're looking for very specific items, Tier. So
Yep.
go for it.
24.
Nice.
17.
17. You and them 17s today, Alex.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I did a filthy 20 looking for specific information, like that written by Winks, or
Okay.
anything concerning disciples in Blackcloak.
Okay.
Not
Sure.
anything else about the artificer information or anything. We're not focused on that.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
And then I'm gonna pocket the Qualish's Musings book, and I'll tell Wintry that I'll hold it until she gets a bag. Hold
Okay.
it for her.
Or unless, well, I mean, Jason was saying like the backpack.
Yeah, she eventually finds a backpack.
Oh, that's
and-
you.
I'll get a
Alright.
serviceable pack.
Hey, take this, then I'll toss her a book. Qualish's
Tier,
Musings.
you are. Well, I really appreciate it.
Show
What's the
anything
book? So
specific you Qualish's Musings.
Time travel.
Qualish's Musings on time
Correct.
travel. Okay, thanks. Let me make a note.
I think I'm going to try and search the bags because I have no interest in the mechanical parts.
Okay. Go
But
for
I
it.
rolled a 9.
Right. Alex, anything in particular you think you'd be looking for?
If there is no like potions and things like that, then I guess components, especially if they're in relation to like help me cast the stuff in the book.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. So I'll say for you, Tyr, you spend a lot of time looking for specific items. Like you pick up one thing, kind of toss it off to the side, realize it's once again a spare part. You do come across an item that is quite interesting. It is a very simple looking jug of ceramic kind of quality, but there is definitely magical writing on it. It seems to be filled with something. Like you shake it, it feels like there's a liquid in it. But you can't really see into it. It's got a strange metal stopper on it.
Okay.
It's like, do I pull a Gelmir or...
It goes. It
I can just see him calculating the loss and prevention.
I'm going to grab the jug.
Okay.
I'm gonna find just one of those like, backpacks full of just junk. I'm gonna open the jug. I'm gonna think about honey, and I'm gonna empty it out. Just my thoughts.
Okay.
Process.
As you think about that, you feel a kind of harmonic resonance with the jug, like it shakes in your hand for a moment. As you pour, this thick golden honey-like liquid begins to pour out of it into a junky old backpack that you grabbed.
Okay, I'll close it up and then I'll try again. I'll think about melted butter.
Melted butter is now pouring out of it.
Close it up. One last time. Flour.
Nothing comes out.
Okay, then I close it. All right.
Alex, you actually find a couple interesting things. You find a particular bookshelf that has very strange components on it. And it seems to match some of the descriptions and design of some of the spells. So you kind of grab up a small leather bag and you start just pouring whatever componentry you think may be in alignment with this spell book that you found. Like the needle of a clock, like the face of a clock. You find just all these weird devices and componentry that might be a part of this. You get the feeling that maybe Winks was responsible for both maintaining Blackcloak's different spell books as well as this componentry. Because once again, this feels like you're in a master artificer's lab. So it kind of makes sense.
Right.
So you could technically say you have a medium-sized bag filled with components that would allow you to potentially try out some of the chrono spells. For you, Intrude, you are scouring for specific information related to Winks themselves, or
Winks, the other disciples, and
Yeah.
Blackcloak. Is anything not exactly autobiographical, but anything of like they did this, or here's like
you come
sealed
across.
somewhere.
Oh, this is perfect with that roll. This would fit. You come across a charcoal sketch. It was rolled up in a tube, and you pulled it out, and it's a sketch of the 7 disciples, but they're very young. They seem to be standing in front of an archway that's been sketched as well. The background that they're in front of has been sketched. They're all each individually sketched. And you finally have names and faces to place on the different disciples. the female known as Annabelle, you now have a pretty decent image of her. Krenix, his kind of stoic looking form. You have Theo's kind of angular looking form. And then there's a picture of Winks in his kind of very kind of regal looking appearance, but looking very disinterested, as clearly whoever's doing the sketch is doing it of them. Then there's Zeno, his kind of dark, brooding appearance. Granji, this very kind of lighthearted looking individual with like just this big smile, a long beard. And then finally the female Chenix, as she is standing there with her arms crossed, just kind of glowering at the person who's taking the sketch. And over the archway, kind of written in letters within the sketch, it just says Halaster's Workshop over the archway. You get the feeling that this was a sketch of the 7 disciples when they initially met with Halaster, and basically someone did a sketch of them at the entrance to his workshop.
Back when it was like above ground or not, like
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. Hard to know for sure.
Okay.
So we'll say you guys pretty much exhaust your search at this point. Unfortunately for you, Shogo, nothing of determinate matter that you could find. But time has passed, although it's hard to tell for sure how much time has passed. The Sentinel was awakened, sent off on whatever errand its designed purpose was. Chronos Magic book recovered, sketches recovered, a engineer's map of a place called the Mad Maze. Lot, as well as the unfortunate or fortunate interaction, as Wimtrud is now in possession of the Deck of Many Things. Can't wait to hear what Gelmir says about that when he comes back.
I don't want Gelmir to know. I mean, Zach can know, but I don't want his character to ever know that I have this. That's why I was trying to keep it hidden. Or
So what are your guys' plans? What are you doing?
so if the scroll is like plane shift, I can specify a target destination in general terms.
Yes, the more you know, the more successful you may be.
So I wonder what happens if I try to picture the workshop I see in the sketch and see if it's like still a place that exists, or
We could look at
Before
the map of the Maze of Madness and maybe try and get to the end of it, or
Ooh, I like that idea.
So what is the Maze of Madness specifically again? I was
It
too
looks
busy
to
deleting all
be-
my items.
Yeah.
Book of Horn.
That's hot.
I mean, as Tyr kind of rolls it out for everyone to look at, you realize it's a very intricately designed schematic with the author Granji on it. It looks to be this very elaborate maze designed to get people potentially killed, lost. There are different ways into the maze, but there's only one way out on the opposite end of the schematic. The challenge you have with this is that while the schematic gives you a little bit of familiarity, the scroll is powerful. The spell is definitely powerful and definitely allows you to leave this place. But the more detail, the more information you have about a focal point of where you're going, the less likely you are to deviate. And maybe if you do deviate, it may not be as severe.
I mean, how detailed is the map, though? Does it?
It's pretty
is it
detailed.
pictured?
I mean, a lot of footnotes, markings. It notes certain traps, certain parts of the maze that are designed to get people lost forever. There's even a note at the exit point of the maze where it just, in the handwritten comment, just says, get Yankee presents.
So should I? So what I would? So guys, would I be like basically as best I can, looking, studying the map, and trying to picture like the end of this maze, the other side? So is the maze tier like maybe is it like a sort of trial we'd have to go through anyway? Is that the understanding? Like we would eventually come to this portion, or
Yeah, I mean, it's
it's just a
definitely-
document that Clay found.
It's just a
with his
document that
character.
just
Okay.
kind of that Tyr has found that just describes
Oh, okay.
this detailed labyrinth that may
Okay.
be in the Undermountain.
Said the end of the maze looks like it is the entrance to the lower levels of the dungeon. So
Okay. All right, let me look.
Before we try that, there's one thing that I would like to try to maybe conserve that scroll.
Okay.
Alexander, you mentioned when we were talking about escaping earlier, you said something about a voice in your head saying, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
I kind of walk over to the wall where we first showed up and focus on the concept of leaving this place. Does anything happen?
Yeah, you stand there, you just think about it, you think hard about it, you open your eyes. No change, no physical distinction arises.
All right, just wanted to give that a try beforehand.
Kind of a. Well, I don't know if we could group wish our way out of here. I mean, that's.
Magic is weird like that sometimes.
you've got to find Winx's actual will.
And I don't want to say any more about magic because I'm too scared to say anything about the deck and then Gelmir and anybody else possibly finding out. Like, I don't.
Yeah, you just hear him nattering to himself amongst the piles of junk. I'm going to take this. Oh, yeah, gotta have this. And eventually, like, you watch as he comes out from a huge pile of stuff, lays out the portable hole, and just pushes over a giant pile of stuff that fills, just tumbles into the hole. And he kind of rolls it up, puts it, all right, I'm ready to go. Where are we going? What are we doing?
I mean, like, I know. So let me go. Like, if you'll excuse me for a second, as I talk to the others. Like, I know that the standard deal is treasure hunting and keeping stuff. So, and a maze would probably be chock full of things you'd want to, gems and coinage and everything. But
Gems? I'm sold. Let's go.
Should we just try to shift ourselves to the end of the maze? I don't really want to go through a maze. Is what I'm feeling.
I am totally down for going through a maze.
Of course you are.
Based on what little I know
Where there's
of
no
play-
risk, there's no reward. So.
What's that? Does the map of the maze indicate that there's any type of treasure or anything? throughout the
Give
maze?
me perception. Or no, give
I'll
me
assist.
insight as you begin to kind of scour all the markings and notes on the map.
Can I assist
22.
with that?
Yeah, with advantage.
24.
24. Running your finger along the edge of where some of the notes are, there are two key landmarks within the maze that kind of strike your fancy. There's one that talks about a dragon's den, and then there's another one that talks about something that goes by the name of Old Rotten Eye.
Okay, well, I don't want to. I don't want to be disappointing or anything, but it's.
And I try to whisper it so because I see Gelmir's over there.
I don't want to face anything that's potentially an old ancient dragon.
Right.
I don't have my book anymore to put any other dragons to sleep. And I don't know how Gelmir stumbled into that scale the last time. I don't even want to begin to imagine that, but could we just try to get to the end of the maze?
All right, let's do it then. Let's get out of here.
I'm not so sure. As I said, from what I know of planar travel, if you haven't actually, if you aren't actually familiar with where you're trying to end up, things could go badly wrong. So I'm not actually sure skipping to the end of the maze is actually safer. As crazy as that sounds.
Well, we'd be at the end of the maze.
Or we may end up dead in the middle or up here turned inside out, for all I know.
Well, I mean, we might look. Okay, let me stare at this end. So I'm trying to scour the
Yeah.
details of the end of the map again.
Yeah,
Like the
so
end
as
of
you
the
guys
maze as
are
according to the map.
swarmed around Wintrude is studying this map, the nervous energy of Gelmir, as you think you have a good possible destination to get to. The trick is reading the spell, and is there enough familiarity to get where you want to get to? And that's going to be a good place for us to stop tonight, as we're almost at 3 hours at this point. Holy shit, you found the deck of many things. That was pretty cool. And you pulled the card like a proper gobbo. I thought that was pretty cool. So you guys linger for a bit so we can talk about schedules. Everybody else, thank you for watching. Thank you for the raid. That was lots of fun, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. Be safe, be kind, and don't forget to play a game. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. And everyone's like, keep pulling cards. Keep pulling cards.